Welcome back to math. Today we're talking about Module 2, Lesson 1. I'm just going to call this Understanding Multiplication and Place Value. So, let's get started with a couple of problems that I've written on the board. As you can see, this is 2 times 3. Now, we've talked about this before, and I think we talked about the 2 as being items. Today I'm going to switch it a little bit. I'm going to say the 2, let's talk about the 2 as groups. 2 groups, okay? So there's my 2 groups. There's 1 group, there's 2 groups. Now how many items am I going to have in each group? Well, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 items in each group. Now you would say, how many, what's our total here? Well, our total is 3 plus 3 is 6. Now that's 6 what? Well, that would be 6 ones, right? Because each one of these is a 1. 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 here. And we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 here. Now if you notice, we have what? We have 1, 2, 2 threes. So we have 2 threes. So we could write that as 2 threes equal 6 ones. Does that make sense so far? Now, let's pull these off and see if we can. Let's take it up a slight notch, shall we? Let's go with 2 times 30. We have 2 times 30. Now what is the 2? The 2 means groups, right? So I'm just going to put my groups here. I don't know if you remember, but we had these types of things. This is 100, right? And the longer ones, or the rods, some people call them, these are how many squares are in them? Well, 10, right? And if you notice, we have what here? Well, we have a 30. If we decompose this number, or we distributed it, we would have 3 tens, right? So we could write that out as 3 times 10. That would make 30. So that kind of helps us, because let's say that I have one of these rods, or tens, and I'm going to call this a 10, right? So how many of those am I going to put in each box? Well, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 in each box, right? 1, 2, 3. Now I have 6 what? I have 6, and what are these in? What are these in? These are in tens. Does that make sense? Which would also be 60, right? So that would mean that we have 60. Now if you notice that breaking it down, decomposing it into 3 tens, that helped us, didn't it? Put it in here. We had a strategy to do the problem. Okay, now if you remember, let's go to our next problem, and then I'm going to start asking you to make some connections. Do you remember this big square? How many items are in this square? Well, I hope you're saying this is 100 items in this square. So here we go again. Let's draw out our groups. Okay, so we're drawing out our groups. How many groups do we have? Well, we have 2 groups, right? And I'm going to push this up a little bit. Now I'm going to make these guys in there, all right? So here's my 1 square. Wow, I need to make my groups a little bigger, don't I? Let's try 2, I guess I'm going to have to redo my squares here. Oh, they'll have to be good enough. And sorry, I took off my groups here. I didn't know how. Now I have two groups. I have one group here, second group here. Now, how many is in each one of these? That's right. There are 100, right? There's 100 in here. Well, if we decomposed our 300, we would have what? 3 times 100. And 100 would be this thing, right? Hey, I'm pretty close, huh? Not bad. So, our hundreds would be here, right? Well, how many hundreds do you think I have? Well, I have 300 plus 300, that would be 600, right? Or we could write it a different way. We could say we have 6 hundreds. So we could say we have 600 or 6 hundredths. And this is how we would draw it out to show that 2 times 300 equals 600. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundredths, like we wrote over here. And up above, we have our tens, right? And we could write that's 1 10, right? This is 2 tens, 3 tens, 4 tens, 5 tens, 6 tens, right? And that's how we ended up with our 6 tens. And then the very top one was 6 ones. So we can write it in various types of ways, but we use distributive property to help us kind of draw out our problems. Now, what do you see here? That's right. If you said, hey, we're multiplying 2 times 30, and 30 has 1 0 in it, if you notice, our answer has 1 0 in it too. And down here, you said, well, there's 2 zeros here, and there's 2 zeros in our answer. So if we were going to do it mental math, we could say 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6, right? And then we count our zeros. 1, 2, 2 zeros. That gives us 600, which is the same as our answer, isn't it? So that's a pretty neat way of doing it, isn't it? And this one, we would say, well, 2 times 3 is 6. How many zeros do I have? Got 1 0. So my answer is 60. And that's what we got when we worked it all out in our drawings. So as you can see, this is how place value, it kind of moves over each place. So when we're multiplying 2 times 3, if we had our place value chart, and we had, say, ones here, tens here, and hundreds here, and 2 times 3 is 6, right? If we multiply it by 10, it would be scooting the 6 over and adding the 0. That's what we did on our second problem for 2 times 30. And then when we went, let me change colors. If we went 2 times 300, it's like we're taking our 6 and we're going to move it over 10 and into the hundreds space. So it'd be 6, 0 would go here, and a 0 would go here. So we would have 600. Does that make sense? So that's an easy way to think of multiplication of tens or ones, tens, and hundreds. So please practice this with other numbers to give yourself a chance to do these drawings. And to don't forget to break down your decompose your number, or to use distributive property to break it down into 3 times 10 to get 30, and break this down. So it makes it easier for us to draw it, and we know what we need to draw that way. Okay? I love math.